In Kenya, with around 90% of precincts reporting, it seems there's still no clear winner in that country's presidential election. The Deputy President, William Ruto, is taking on the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Polls indicate that around 60% of eligible voters actually cast their ballots, but it seems to be a really tight race. Victor Rateng is a public policy analyst. He's following this closely. Victor, good afternoon to you. How tight is this? Is there any difference in the levels of support between these two men?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Yes, it's a very tight race, going by what we see in the media for those media houses that are tallying the results. The IEBC has indicated that voter turnout is 64.6%, so basically 65%, which translates to 14.2 or 14.3 million people out of 22 million registered voters. As the tallying continues, what we've seen is a pretty much consistent tight race between Odinga and William Ruto.
Do the two get support from different places in that society, or are they competing within the same pools of voters?
Well, they have their strongholds. So Ruto's support is largely going to be his backyard in he's in the Rift Valley and a huge portion of Mount Kenya. And Odinga gets support from his backyard in western Luo and the Luya vote, and then both of them scramble for support in the remaining parts of the country.
As I understand it, Ruto is claiming to be the hustler. He's the younger man. Look, he's in his mid-50s, so he's not really the younger man. Odinga is a bit more establishment, former Prime Minister. How important is that dynamic in this race?
Well, it's important, but I would say the most significant, the one that has a big effect, is ethnic identity and how the coalitions have been formed. So, Ruto forms a coalition based on two main ethnic groups, the Kalenjin from where he comes, and then he's allied. He has an alliance with the Mount Kenya community, 4 ethnic groups there. So the other issues to do with age. We thought, most people when they analyze the issue, they think it's age is a factor, but from the analysis we've seen, it's not such a big factor in this election. It has to do with ethnic identity and the coalitions that these ethnic groups form. Yeah.
In the past, we've seen some violence in Kenyan elections. When was it? I think 2008, when the violence was really bad. And what happens, and I've spoken to some people who've analyzed this in elections around the world, is that the key moment is when the flow of information from the authorities stops and we don't yet have the result. How worried are you that this could happen? In other words, it happens when people are worried that results are being manipulated. People are always going to worry about violence after what happened in 2008. Where are things standing now?
Well, that's a really good question, because it's something that takes us back to the IEBC, the election management body. And what we've seen this time around is that they have been very transparent with the results. So what happens is we have the forms, these forms called Form 34A, which are the individual polling station level data. So a polling station will basically have 700 registered voters. And once the voting has closed and the ballot papers have been counted, they are recorded on Form 34A. So what has happened is the IEBC has been very efficient, fast and efficient, in ensuring that these forms are scanned using the KIMS kit and are made available through the public portal. So as we speak, we have 98.5% of all the forms that need to be verified or to be made available uploaded on their website. And what 98.5% represent is about 45,500 polling stations out of the 46,000 polling stations. So that is good enough to reassure the people that they're being very transparent in the work that they do, and might help mitigate any violence that might occur.
Trust is so important to these processes. Running an election is such a big thing. People don't always realize. The current President, Uhuru Kenyatta, he's supporting Odinga. How much pull does he have in this race?
Well, going by turnout and the level of support we have in Mount Kenya, which is where Mr. Kenyatta comes from, I would say that most people have defied his endorsement. So his endorsement didn't bear significance much as it would we would expect from a tribal kingpin. So because most of the people in Mount Kenya, from the results we see, have basically voted for Ruto.
In our system, a president under our constitution has quite a lot of power, and the real limit of their power is, in fact, their own political party. That's been our experience of our democracy so far. In Kenya, you point to coalitions. So how much power does a president have? I mean, there is a prime minister as well. So, I mean, does the president have a lot of power? Can they really exert their political will, or do they find that they actually have quite a lot of limitations? They have to include people from different groups, different ethnicities, different factions in their cabinet, for example?
Well, there's room to expand to provide room for other ethnic groups once you're elected into office through presidential appointments, ambassadorial positions. We have ministries, departments. So most presidents will take that opportunity, use that opportunity to make sure that citizens across the country feel represented in his government or in their government. But beyond that, there's a limitation to just how much they can do, constitutionally. And we saw that in the, President Ruto himself, when he began, he almost defied the Constitution. He violated the Constitution, by creating these positions of, CAS. And so there is usually that tension in terms of trying to please everyone across the country.
Victor Ateng, thank you so much, public policy analyst following the Kenyan election. For us, so much to talk about in those elections. Very, very close indeed. If you look at that, over 98% of the precincts reporting, and yet there's still no clear winner.